Hey there, what's up boys and girls? Thanks for stopping back into the channel today. Right here at the Rust Belt Mechanic. We've got Project Cheap Caddy right back on into the shop here, and we're going to be doing something simple, easy, something that everybody loves to do when you buy a new car or a car that is newer to you. You want to add some accessories to it, so that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be looking at some cheap accessories, cheap options for this one. We're going to be doing some vent visors, some floor mats, and I finally did find that coveted seat cover. So we're going to be looking at putting that on today. Key fob, a key, go into a couple of these quick simple things, and then afterwards we're going to get this thing all cleaned up, shined up, either for sale or for use, one of the two. So stay tuned. So the first thing we're going to get into today is floor mats. Now the floor mats for this thing were just cheap, chintzy ones that you buy at pretty much any and every auto parts store. You get them for like $19.95. They're trimmed to fit in your vehicle. Now these ones were, I guess, seen their better days. They smelled like moldy feet, and I don't think that we're going to be wanting to use them because I like things that are more form-fitted. I'm going to have a lot of stuff in and out of this, going to be taking the dogs all kinds of places, so I like to have things that are able to keep the carpet all nice and neat eventually, especially after we actually get the carpet cleaned and everything. So we'll be getting to that too. But these are the old mats that came out of the unit. As you can see, they were the form fit ones that nobody wanted to take the time to form fit or trim or anything like that. So these are going to be getting chucked. Now, what did we get? We picked up these off of eBay. All right, so these are the ones that I ended up picking up off of eBay from a company called OMAC, O-M-A-C, I believe is what it is. These are 3D scan, and they do form fit very well into the actual footwells of the vehicle. Now, these are not the thickest of most floor mats that I've put into vehicles. You know, the bigger name brand ones, they are quite a bit thicker. You take them out of the box and they are, you know, really well form fit already to the vehicle. Thick as all get out, and these ones are more of along the lines of the same thickness of the ones that I took out, but they are 100% exactly form fitted around the edges to what this vehicle's specifications are. When these came in, they were actually in a box no bigger than an extra like 2 foot wide box, thin, and they were all just kind of rolled up. So I did have to unroll them, let them sit out in the sun a little bit and kind of flatten out. After that, I put them into the car, and they fit very, very well. Now, they're not going to be like the high quality ones that you're going to see from the bigger name brand ones, but you're also not going to be paying that huge price for them as well. For the bigger name brand ones, for the front pair alone, you're looking at spending like $150. Those are really, really nice ones, but at the same time, it's $150 for floor mats. I really didn't want to put that into this vehicle because that would be pretty much one of the most expensive parts that I put into the car, and I didn't think that that would be right putting that much money into floor mats. So what did I do? I found these ones from OMAC, and I ended up spending $64 online, shipped to my door, done, and I think they turned out great. So not only did I get the front ones, but I got the back molded set too. Let's look at those. Here's our back pair. The left side one has the left side as well as the center covering, and then the right side one kind of goes over the lip of what that center covering would be. Like I said, these turned out very well. They form fit awesome. You can see they might bow in a little bit still because they still haven't really sat in much heat, but I think they'll form fit just pretty decently. So like I said, this full 4-piece set for $64 shipped to my house. I think that was a pretty darn good steal for what these are. And as you can see, we've got our old melted seat still over here. But you know what? I ended up finding this one right here. Yeah, it's used, a little worse for wear, but it doesn't have any kind of scratches or anything like that. So after we get it installed, I think we'll get rid of a lot of these wrinkles and everything, and it's going to look a hell of a lot better than the one that's actually in there. I'm excited about getting this thing in there. That means, you know, we'll actually be able to use the back seat without it having stuck and nastiness. Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to do this seat cover in the vehicle. Just looks like there's too many clips that are holding on underneath, so I'm going to have to get this 60 side out of the vehicle. So, all right, well, you guys ever have that one thing that just takes entirely way too much time and effort from what you thought it was originally supposed to take? Well, I thought I was going to be able to take this apart like within 10-15 minutes like I do most seats. Well, it ends up you got to take this entire back seat out, which weighs roughly 175-200 pounds, and with me being here alone, it just would barely fit through the doorway, lifted up at the middle portion of it. So me being alone here at the shop today didn't make that really help. So I pulled it loose, pulled it forward, pulled it around, and fought trying to get this seat base out for the better part of an hour and a half. We're just going to say it sucked. Not going to go into a whole lot more detail on it, but ended up taking the 4 bolts loose from the seat frame, holding it on, as well as one large one and one bolt that holds the seat belt down to the base as well. After prying, finding an extra bracket on the back side of the seat while it was in there also to take loose, which the instructions didn't say anything about, I finally fought and it's out. So now this will be the simple part, is getting the cover off of it, because it's just got like, I think 8 J clips and a couple of pins to pull off, and the seat cover will come right off. So this will be the easy part, and then we'll see if we can pick any of that melted heated seat part off of the top of this this foam piece. Well, finally some great news on this part of the project, because I got the seat off and you can see how melted and crazy it was. I could have sworn that this was going to be the actual foam of the seat. Flip it around. It didn't quite go through all the way in all the spots, so I don't even have to pick off a whole lot of stuff from the seat foam. Seat foam's going to be plenty nice, and I'm just going to get to put this new seat cover on. Well, I'm going to put this on, and we'll get this thing wrapped up and put it all back together. You guys don't need to see me fighting and crazy over this stupid thing for the next hour. So I'm going to do that, and then we were going to hop forward up to our vent visors. Seat is finally done, and we'll look in that one in here in a minute, but we've got our vent visors to install now. Now, this is not the Vent Visor brand. The window coverings that we picked up today are from tuningpros.com, so ended up costing us a fraction of the amount, and they still use pretty much the same materials on putting these on. It costs us like right at like 40 bucks, like 35, 40 bucks for the 4-piece set on this. So the biggest thing when you're installing these vent visors is cleanliness. If you want them to stick and you want them to stay, you need to have a good clean surface for them to work on. Also need to make sure you've got clean hands on the surfaces you're working on, which right now, because of that stupid seat, I do not have. So I need to go wash my hands, and then we're going to grab our alcohol pad, which does come in the kit right there. We're going to clean our surfaces off from the area around here. I did not go with the in-channel ones. I just don't like going with those. I think those have a lot more issues with them. Plus, eventually we're going to get our windows tinted as well. So I like the over-channel ones. I think it'll set it off just nicely, and we'll get these stuck on. That's why you need to prep these so much, because no way that would have stayed stuck on there. Just showing you. Same thing with the back one. Like I said, no way these things would have stayed stuck. Just showing you guys, that's how you make sure you clean off your surfaces. All right, now when you're installing these vent visors, a good idea is to just start at one of the ends where there's the most, I guess, corners and surface area. So here on the back, this is going to hug the corner of the channel right into here. There's actually a little groove right here on the very end of our vent visor that is going to follow the groove on the edge window trim panel. So that's going to line up there. So make sure you take that little end piece off, the sticky section right here. You're going to peel that off, as well as part of the middle one, and you're going to kind of hang it up where you can get to it. And then we're going to fit this on slowly, a little bit surely. We're going to fit on our front end, line it up, and then we're going to stick on our back end. Make sure that we have it correct forward and backward, and then you're ready to stick it on, stick the back. And then you're going to pull this one area, the cover of the 3M tape here on the back, you're going to pull that down to expose the sticky, and then stick it straight down to where you need it to go. All right, so now after you get everything placed in, make sure you just take your hands and run against the whole sticky surface up on the outside to make sure it's good and tight and stuck against there, working any air bubbles it might have within that little bit of tape, which usually it doesn't, but afterwards, all stuck on, looks good. I think these are pretty impressive for the price that we paid for them. I think I definitely like saving some money when it comes to these accessories. Now check out this seat cover. Since we got it done on here on this side, there it is. I know it looks a little bit more worse for wear than the other one, but you know, what can you expect from a junkyard there? Plus, we haven't even cleaned or conditioned this leather yet, which is kind of one of the next things that we're going to be doing also. But first, we need to focus in because we've got one more thing to do here in the shop before we take it to get detailed. We need to cut and program a key. So let's jump onto that. So I ended up picking up this key and fob set, a pair of them from Amazon off of USA Remote, I believe is who the seller was on there. But anyways, I picked these up for 20 bucks for a remote fob and a transponder key. Now we already know, because of one of the past videos when I had to program the TPMS, you had to have a fob, and ends up you cannot program this fob separately through any kind of aftermarket programming methods. There's no buttons I can push or anything to be able to program this fob with this specific vehicle. So that kind of sucks. So if you do have a Cadillac SRX, unfortunately you're going to have to find somebody with a scan tool. Fortunately, I have one, so we're going to use that one. But then with the actual transponder key, that one you are able to copy the original one. If you have that one, there also is a procedure to be able to program a new one if you lost your key altogether. So first off, we're going to have to cut this key, and we're going to copy it off of the old one because the mileage on this one obviously is pretty high. Car's older, and the cylinders on this one are probably slightly worn. So we're not talking about a new cylinder, so we're not going to be finding the code and everything to cut a brand new key like it would be brand new. We're going to copy off the key that I do have for the vehicle. Let's jump over to the key machine, get this thing cut and copied. So we've got our Silca key cutting station here. Now normally guys are able to take this to a locksmith or something and able to cut these keys for you, usually for like 10-20 bucks, depending on, you know, if you use their services for any amount of time. So we're going to be able to lock this one in here, and we're going to have to read our old key here first. Lock that one into place where it's supposed to go. Verify it's set all the way against my stop. There we go. Now we're going to read this key. Sounds a little bit like a robot from Star Wars just fumbling around. There we go, simple as that. So now we're gonna remove our existing key out of there. And you guys, like I said, can see that this key is quite worn on the edges, and I don't wanna have to be messing with the ignition cylinder or anything like that. So that's why we ended up copying it off of that one. And I'm not too worried about this one because, like I said, if this ends up messing up, I'm sure we can figure something else out and get a different key from online. But for 20 bucks, you know, it's not too bad at all. So we're going to get our new key into the slot here. Lock her down into position. There we go. And now we're going to start our cut. Get you guys zoomed in here on this one, maybe a little bit. There we go, simple as that. Let's have a look at that one side. I know we still got our other side to cut, but I mean, pretty close off of that one. So now all we have to do is flip it over. Get it locked into our stop. Lock it down. And cut side number 2. Now for programming our keys, there are 2 different ways of doing it. If you have no keys at all, what you'll do is you'll take your key that is unprogrammed, you'll stick it into the ignition and you'll turn it to the on position for 10 minutes and 30 seconds. At that point, you will turn it off within 45 seconds, turn it back on for 10 minutes and 30 seconds. So you're going to do that 3 times until the last cycle you turn it off and back on, and the key will be programmed to the vehicle. So that's the long way of doing that if you don't have any scan tool or way of doing this. Now, if you do have a key that is already programmed to the vehicle, it's actually really simple. First, all you have to do is put it into the ignition. After those 5 seconds are up, you're going to take that key out of the ignition, and then you are going to put the new key into the ignition, turn it on for 5 seconds. Then you're going to cycle the ignition off, then back on. At that point, it should be all programmed and ready to start. Just like that one, we've got a nice new programmed key. All right, so now all I've got to do is get my fob programmed, which I obviously, like before, have to do with my scan tool, so I'll get that one programmed. And then we're going to be heading on our way over to ZJ's detailing service over in St. Paris, Ohio. So we're going to get this one all finished and buttoned up here, and we're going to be heading that way to check him out. All right, so I'm on my way over to ZJ's detailing service. It's out of St. Paris, Ohio. Small little town, but a fantastic higher end detailing service is what we're going for on this one today. So why would you ask on this one that, why am I not going to do this one myself? Well, one, I don't have a whole lot of the supplies to be able to do a really good detail on this thing. And really right now I'm kind of crunched for time on everything. So I'm leaving it in his hands because he's a professional at it. And that might be something else we want to point out on this one to allude to why you might want to take it to a professional detail service. Whether A, you're going to be keeping the vehicle, or B, whether you're looking to put it back on the market for resale, a really good detail is definitely something that helps the selling point of the vehicle. This vehicle being a little bit on the rougher side, as we saw earlier on, it definitely needs a lot of love when it comes to a good detail service. And we're going to go through with him exactly what is in this higher end detail service, with what he's going to do with this one. He also has the availability to kind of pick and choose exactly what we want done to this vehicle. I'm not too worried about the outside of it, because eventually we're going to be doing some body work, maybe some videos on that, maybe even Raptor lining it down the road. So not too worried on that one, but the interior, I definitely want it very meticulously gone through. This thing was obviously a smoker's vehicle prior to, so I need to get rid of that smell. My mother and mother-in-law is going to be driving this vehicle, so it's going to be something I want this taken care of, and I want it done right and looking pristine on the interior. So that is why we were taking it to ZJ's detailing service, because he's going to do an awesome job. Hook us up on this one, and we'll go through everything that he's going to do on this one, including the headlights, which you guys have been complaining about for the last like 3 videos. So we'll get to see the in-depth look on exactly what he does to restore the headlights on these two. All right, we're back here in St. Paris, Ohio to pick up the good old Cadillac from Zach at ZJ's detailing service here in Ohio. And I'm telling you what, I was super excited about this one, because everything that we've done so far on this Cadillac build has been super cheap. We're trying to do it on the down low, trying to find it as cheap as humanly possible. But this is one of the things that I wanted to get done and wanted to get done right. One, because I didn't really have a whole lot of time to do this myself, because my pickiness, if I'm going to sell a car or I'm going to keep it and own it, it's going to be right. So it's had to be in a correct detail. It's not something that would have been done at the dealership, even where I work at, because there's, you know, to be honest, a lot of corners that are cut in trying to get all these details in and out all day long. So I wanted somebody who was going to take more time on this one, and that's why I ended up coming here to ZJ Detailing Service. So I'm going to turn around here and let him explain exactly what he did with this detail. All right, Zach, let's go through exactly what we did on this one.
Yeah, man, for sure. So what we ended up doing is, per Kyle's request, we ended up doing a basic wash on the outside. We ended up doing a more in-depth detail with the rims. We do have some befores and after pictures for those, which will be listed in the video. Obviously, on the exterior, pretty self-explanatory. Moving into the interior was Kyle's biggest concern. So obviously he came out to us because of our professional integrity that we hold as a company, and we ended up doing a stage 3 interior, which is getting all the nook and crannies. We ended up doing the headliner, doing the carpet. We ended up doing the interior glass as well, and also doing some ozone treatment to remove some past smell that was in there that was a concern of Kyle's.
Oh, it smelled bad. It smelled bad. It was we'll say a heavy smoker's vehicle that had been a nice musk into it, that's for sure. And I like that this seat cleaned up pretty darn nice also. This is one that we picked up off of a junkyard shelf. Actually, before, I didn't even tell him this, before we got it, this seat was melted totally.
Oh, no kidding.
And the whole interior smelled like burnt, melted leather, because this seat was melted. And actually picked this seat up off of a junkyard that had been sitting on a shelf for the better part of a year and a half. So it was pretty musky and pretty nasty, but it turned out pretty nice. It's gonna, you know, need some time to wear in because it had been rolled up on a shelf for a while, but it turned out pretty darn sweet.
Definitely.
Oh, this leather is nice.
Yeah, and so also what we use compared to others is we're using professional high-grade detailing equipment, also along with chemicals as well. So we're not using chemicals from AutoZone or from Walmart or Advanced AutoZone. We're using chemicals through IGL. They're well known. They're professional grade detailing chemicals. Overall, when you talk about like leather conditioner, and also especially with the tires themselves, you want to use something that's water-based. You don't want to use anything silicone-based. And if anybody's done any research, silicone essentially what it does is it doesn't moisturize the vinyl or the leather or even the rubber itself. What it ends up doing is it ends up trapping everything and ends up drying everything out and cracks it over a long period of time. So we do use a very high-end quality chemicals throughout the vehicles when we go through our cleaning process as well.
Nice. One of the other big things that we were really excited about, and you guys were just complaining about to no end, was the headlights.
Yes,
those headlights were bad. Let's jump around to the front and see how these turned out. Kind of explain to us what we went in this one, because these were absolutely horrendous and fogged up before. You couldn't see pretty much a candlelight out of the front of this.
Yeah, so for sure. So what we do is we also do headlight restoration. So the biggest thing with headlights is most of your oxidation is in the outside, superficial on the headlight. Obviously, over time, as headlights start breaking down, you can start having some breakdown on the interior of the headlight itself. But overall, what we ended up doing is if you go to your local hardware store, get yourself some sandpaper. I know it sounds scary, but that's what's going to help get the oxidation. You're going to start removing these layers that are oxidized and causing that haze. So what we ended up doing with these headlights specifically is we started out with a 2000 grit sandpaper. We let it sit in water for about 2 hours, and then we spray the headlight with water and lightly sand the headlight in back and forth motions. And then once you get it done, just wipe it off and then start right in with your 3000 grit. And then after that, you kind of polish it out from there. We use a DA, dual action buffer, and then we buff it out with our compounds and then come back with our finishing polishes. And what we ended up doing for Kyle on this one here is we actually ended up ceramic coating the headlight itself. So what that does essentially is what it's going to do is your ceramic coating is going to give you a durability. 6 times harder than clear coat. Once it cures here in about 5 days, that's going to prevent it from oxidizing, and it's going to repel the water, dirt, and oil, and it's going to essentially make the bugs come off with ease, and that lasts about a year.
Tell you what, it looks like some brand new headlights. And if anybody has looked up the cost of these headlight assemblies for these SRXs, they're the better part of $500-600 for a new-ish set, that you can get off of eBay. So I was not too enthralled about having to buy new headlights for these, so I'm really glad that they turned out as well as they did, especially if I'm going to be putting my family and stuff into this vehicle. It was really nice to have something safety wise turn out along with just looking fantastic. All right, guys, well, like I said, I'm really excited with how this Cadillac build has been turning out. It has been an amazing process, and getting this done has been one of the best things that I think that we've done so far. Like I said, if I decide to keep it, then I've got a nice clean car that my family's going to be able to get into and not smell like smoke and nasty muskiness all the time. Or if I decide to sell it, then this thing is obviously professionally detailed, and it's going to show and it's going to shine when I go to sell it. And I guarantee that one of those better shined up, cleaned up, better smelling vehicles is going to sell and bring more money every single time that you guys go to sell it. Well, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this content. We're getting through this Cadillac build. We might have a couple more little things off to the side here, but right now we're going to cut over to how much exactly this one cost. One hell of a deal for a cheap Cadillac that we purchased for $500. $500 for this kind of a Cadillac that's going to be a daily driver capable, and it's going to have our families in it. It looks good, it sounds good, it runs good. It's going to be capable of taking us on vacation, and actually I'm going to be driving this one on vacation. My family's going to be taking it with us. We're going to the Outer Banks, and we're going to have a good time with that. It's going to be bringing you guys lots more content, so keep along the way. We're going to be giving you guys updates on how this one's going. We're bringing the truck, we're bringing the side-by-side. We're going to be having some good times on the dunes, so make sure you stay tuned to the channel for that one. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, turn on that bell notification so you get notified when I come out with cool, awesome content, just like this one here today. Appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, you guys stay awesome.